got nothing to do with no Black History facts. This has to do with some straight up what the heck, what the heck. So apparently, in January, in the state of Virginia, there was a girls JV basketball game, and at this girls JV basketball game, this one in particular team, Truckland High School, they actually had a very special player to take the floor. And this very special player, Brother Love, has caused quite a bit of controversy, so much so that the varsity team, as well as the girls' junior varsity team, have decided that they don't want to play the remainder of the season.
I saw that.
So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, in Virginia, there was a JV basketball game that took place on the weekend, and one of the coaches for the girls' basketball team, a junior varsity basketball team, actually suited up and played in the junior varsity game. And the crazy thing is, someone caught it all on video of this coach out there. I mean, she was hooping, Brother Love. She was like, listen, man, she was a, excuse the pun. She was a man of boys. She was a man amongst boys, if you want to say it that way. She was a woman amongst girls, like I said that way. But yeah, so Arlissa Boykins, a member of the Kirkland Truckers coaching staff, was fired as a head coach in January because she suited up and played on the girls' team. Now, not even the varsity team, Brother Love. She actually jumped on the junior varsity team to help lead the team to victory. And the interesting thing is that the executive director for the Virginia High School League said that this is the second time in his 7-year tenure that a coach has actually stood in for or actually got in the game as a actual player.
Grant, what do you think was going through her mind?
Win. I got to win. We got to win. My job was on the line. We got to lose the season. We got to turn this thing around.
So her job was on the line, and she subsequently lost her job.
Well, I'm speculating on that part. They probably won all the games that she was playing in the games. I mean, they're probably trying to keep their undefeated streak. But the other thing too, though, Brother Love, the interesting thing, the interesting question that came about in the way that sports are and different things like that. Why is this so different? Or how is this so different? Why is it that an older person?
Okay, I just changed it to the mic.
Hey, listen, I want to be a young person and I want to compete against these younger players and have the advantage.
So I got a signal coming in. I see the signal coming in.
You the lawyer here.
Hold on.
Put the rest back on you. No.
Oh, you hear me? My mic not even on.
Illegal based on
Alrighty.
eligibility requirements. I mean, she was an adult playing a JV squad. She wasn't even a student. I mean, isn't there some ramifications? You the lawyer, so I, throw my hands up on that.
I didn't see anything legally that said that she couldn't play. Now, from an ethical standpoint, a non-player, because remember, how many times have schools gone out and recruited players from other areas? And how many times have schools gone out and recruited players? Remember the kid, the 12-year-old kid that just won some. He's out of Texas. He won some athletic thing with Pop Warner football, and they looked at him and he had a mustache and tattoos on his arm.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. But great. That is one of the reasons why schools got eligibility rules and things of that nature. And age plays a role in that. Just think about the maturity level, physical body maturity level of somebody, of an adult getting out there running through some folk in football.
But listen, not even that. So the maturity and the body makeup of a male versus a female.
Yeah.
So I mean, so my question is, how does it differ? Aside from the fact that, hey, this older person should be playing against these younger kids, how does that? And does someone else or anyone else have a case to say, hey, listen, why can't I get out here and play sports against younger people if I feel young?
Man, see, I'm not going to even walk into that trap with you because I'm going to stick by my guns and say that's one of the reasons why eligibility rules.
Shall I do stereo audio?
But now listen, And here's the interesting thing. When we talk about age,
You hear me talking on that one?
age is actually one of those things
crazy.
where
Okay.
you can have.
So let me come out of that.
People think about LeBron James when he came into the league. Think about Kobe Bryant when he came into the league. They were 18 years old coming into play
Come on,
in
man.
professional sports. Now, and also think about this now. In track and field. In track and field, you can have, like, say for instance, this kid Knighton, out of St. Pete or Tampa, somewhere like that, who just competed in the World Championships in track and field. 17 years old, running against guys who are from all across the world, up to 30, 35 years old.
One of the things that you taught me, Greg, without having to open your mouth to teach me, is when I'm gonna stick to my guns, I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna come back again and say, when you talk about LeBron James and some of these other athletes, there were minimum eligibility standards put in place. Now, the fact that you mentioned LeBron, you're talking about phenomenal folk out there that was way above their time.
Well, you want to talk about Kwame Brown?
Kwame
You
Brown,
want to talk about Tyson Chandler?
come on, man.
You want to talk about Eddie Curry?
Hey, I got to do that Michael Irvin on you. Come on, man.
Listen, you say that they were. I mean, LeBron James is literally he's about to be one in or whatever how many players have played in the NFL. He's about to take over
The scores,
actually.
actually. Yeah.
I mean, we could look at other players who came out of high school and competed on that level who weren't ready and who have not had
But
the impact.
But did they meet?
Yeah.
Did they meet the? I mean, did they meet the minimum eligibility rules for the NBA, for high school? I mean, this person that we're talking about now, Greg, how old was she?
Oh, yeah, they didn't even tell
Okay.
me. She's probably in her 20s, though. I think she was in her 20s.
So come on, man. I'm gonna do the Michael Irvin.
But no,
Come on,
think
man.
about it, though, track and field. You can have someone who's 17 years old who's able to compete against men who are 10 to 20 years his senior. 19 came in third in the 200 meters in the world. I think third. In the 200 meters.
I hear you, and I get your point. But one thing, like I said, you taught me, I'm gonna stick by my guns, and I'm gonna keep saying eligibility rules, eligibility rules, eligibility rules.
Let's talk about Jennifer Capriati, the
Okay.
tennis player.
Okay.
Came out, started playing professional tennis at age 14 years old, won championships. She was able to compete against people who are older than her.
Correct.
So age is not necessarily the line drawn in the sand to say if you're a certain age that you automatically have an unfair advantage against a younger person.
That's also a professional sport that she entered in at the time.
Yeah, because you got to play against kids her own age.
But at the time, she met the eligibility rules. This 20-something-year-old was playing a junior. She couldn't even, Greg, you have to go to the school to at least be on the squad. That's called a rule.
Maybe.
Oh, because it's private.
Yeah.
But still, come on, man.
About some JV sports. I remember when I was in when I was in junior high school. Do y'all have junior high school down in Miami?
Yeah.
Because we have middle school
Yeah.
and junior high school. This is a distinction. I don't know.
Well, we had junior high.
Okay, so we had middle school. Y'all had junior high down there. But the point is, so my understanding is that middle school is from sixth to eighth grade, and junior high school can be from 9th to 10th. It's the age difference. Now, most junior high schools go from 6 to 8.
Yeah, but I mean, when you say what's the difference, it's just a different in vernacular, down south, it was junior.
They did it in Jacksonville too.
Oh, did they? Okay,
Yeah,
well, what do they call it in Jacksonville?
Junior high.
Junior, okay, yes.
So typically, varsity level ball is dependent on your skill level. And that's what I was gonna say, because you said she had to, because I was gonna say, because even when I was in middle school, there were kids from our middle school who went to play for the JV team at the high school. So they weren't even members. They didn't even go to the school, but they were able or allowed to play on the junior varsity team in the high school.
And one of the things I'll agree with Greg on is it all depends on your skill level, whether or not you could be a 9th or 10th grader and ball out on the varsity squad.
Or you be a freshman.
You're right. So it depends on your skill level. But hey, Brother Shaw, also they wasn't about to let no 21-year-old play on the varsity squad when, Greg, what is the age when you actually have to leave public high school?
Oh, there's no age. There's no real age. I mean, I think that the age, if we look at it, I think it's 20.
That, After you get so, but
Yeah.
there's a rule though.
Yeah. 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 Right.
See, you going the way I'm going, you know, and like I say, my friend taught me when I get ready to stick to my guns, and you coming back full circle again and implying that based on rules, based on eligibility, based on requirements, and this person who was an adult, 20 something, I don't know what went through her head,
Oh,
Greg.
no, she was crazy as a fox. I mean, don't get me wrong about that. I mean, but can she now turn around and say, I'm being discriminated against because all I wanted to do was to play a sport that I love, and it just so happened that I wanted to play with kids that are younger than me because I feel younger. This is this type of society, Brother Shaw and Brother Love, that we are now living in, that we're even having to question if an adult gets on the court with kids, does that adult have the ability to say you're discriminated against me because I can't play with the kids now? Mm-hmm. Can't do it. She can't do it.
But you know what? And here's where I'm going to come back full circle to something, because we talked about this on there several months ago. And Greg, I don't remember the person's name, and Brother Shaw, I'm sure you're familiar with this as well. But the guy who transitioned, and I think he goes to a college in Pennsylvania. He
Leah Thomas.
What's his name?
Leah Thomas.
And he started breaking records that were set by
women.
And so when Greg brings up, you know, the topic of fairness, man, that's an area that I got a problem with that.
So yeah, and that was my point. Because if we can allow a biological, or if we're okay with allowing biological men to compete against women, why would we now have a problem with an older biological woman competing against biological females?
Well, yeah, Greg, I understand what you're saying, brother. I understand what you're saying, and that drove me to bring up that topic, because I mean, I just think with that, the rules set in stone as they are allowed this other individual to compete, and the question about fairness does have to come into play.
Yeah.
You know?
So listen, I mean, you know, and these are just things. You remember Arsenio Hall, things that make you go,
Hey, well, you know what? Something else that I hope it makes everybody go, Greg Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Orange County Public Schools, and I'm sure other schools are experiencing the same thing. We've seen on the news over the past month and a half that this has been taking place in the Brevard County School District as well. But the level of violence, the level of lockdowns that are taking place in Orange County Public Schools is reached a level that kids can't learn, teachers can't teach. And, you know, it comes back down to safety. And so on February the 20th, school board member Melissa Bird is going to have a roundtable discussion about how do we get our arms around what's taking place in schools. Is Orange County Public Schools going to have to go in the direction that Brevard County Public Schools just recently did, where they basically instituted a new school violence policy? So on February the 20th at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School at 5:30, there's going to be a roundtable discussion. And I think that the community needs to be at the table to make recommendations, because they want their children to be safe as well. Participate in the development of this policy, because I just think we've reached the point that we have to do something. We just can't sit back and do nothing at all.
Well, I mean, here's one of the things, but look, there has to be a concerted effort between school boards, schools, and law enforcement to address these issues.
Say that again. Say the players.
So yeah, the school board and law enforcement, whether it's the city or the county. And the reason why I say that is because, and I don't know if you remember this, but Love Board, about 2 or 3 years ago, you and I had a conversation about a young man at Apopka High School who was expelled because he got into a fight. He was jumped at school, and in the midst of the fight, he actually swung at a teacher. He didn't intend to do it, but he just got caught up in the moment. He swung at a teacher. He was expelled because of that. The reason why he was jumped is because it was something where the kids had come to his house and was harassing him at his home. He went to the school, to members of the school and said, hey, listen, these guys are harassing me at home. Can someone do something to help? And no one was addressing the issue where the issue was taking place, which was in the home, like at his house. Because, and rightfully so, they were saying, because listen, that didn't happen on school property, but it's school students that are at the same school who are bringing issues from home to, into the school place. And so I think that there has to be a concerted effort between the schools as well as between law enforcement on how to address instances where you have violence or you have assault or you have issues where students are getting jumped or being harassed, and do that and take that not just when it happens at school, but also outside of the school.
You're absolutely correct. Hey, Greg, we have a caller that's on the line, man, that can contribute to this conversation. Caller, are you there?
Man Nelson,
How you doing, man, Nelson?
Sir? Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
Man, Nelson, how often, as of late, has Apopka Police Department having, to respond to Wekiva and Apopka High?
Yeah, that's a tough question, and it's going to be, some hard answers to that question, because I think really and truly, one of the answers, and you said it, I think you said the right thing. Parents need to be held accountable for the actions of these kids. I mean, you can't send a person that's living in your house who's a minor to a school that's being disruptive, and then they just come home and act as if nothing has happened. So parents are going to have to take accountability on that. And I think that the schools need to not be afraid to take the hard line and say that if you're not here to learn, there's no play. I mean, I think Joe Clark said it best. I mean, we know we laugh about it, with Joe Clark and Lean on Me, but he said it best. If you're not here to learn, I'm not going to allow you to disrupt all of these other students' learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Mary Nelson, let me ask you this question. Greg and I, we've announced about the roundtable that's taking place on February the 20th at 5:30 at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School. Is the school board looking at modifying or revising its school policy on youth violence? Man. You know, we put a lot of stock in it takes a village, but you know, the villagers got to first have a relationship with one another.
Yeah.
You know, the villagers got to be able to go over to Miss Nancy or Mr. Paul and say, hey, I saw your son, little Billy, doing something, and I just want to bring it to your attention. But, you know, I understand we're living in these days where when you take information to your neighbors, you fear repercussions from letting them know what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why I say the village got to have a relationship first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, the other thing I think also, Mayor, is that I think that we need to back our teachers up more too, because it makes no sense that teachers have to go to school and literally be on the battlefield. Right. The fact that we heard about a 6-year-old that jumped on a teacher and sent the teacher to a hospital. We just heard about 2 weeks ago, another teacher was shot by a 6-year-old. I mean, these teachers are going to do what they love and to do what a lot of us cannot do, which is to teach the next generation in fear, because they're not being backed up when they're being literally attacked by these students, and then a lot of times those same students that attack them are right back in the classroom.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, General, Mr. Mayor, let me interrupt real quick. We're getting a lot of texts saying that folk that are viewing us on Facebook can't hear the audio. I'm going to ask our executive producer if you would put the WOKBradio.com up on the screen so individuals can click on that and they can at least hear this conversation until we get this audio fixed. I'm sorry, Greg.
No. I mean, but I was just saying, I mean, that's just the point that we always talk about is that these teachers, they're not being backed up. They've been put in a position to where, I mean, I never, I was a little mouthy in school.
Not the general. Not the general.
I was a kid, but I would never think to curse out a teacher.
Yeah.
I would never think
right.
to put my hands on a teacher because you know what? That little 4'11" woman at my house and that 6 foot man at my house, I would have had to deal with them.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Mayor Nelson, let me ask you a question. I know, and I got to commend, and Greg and I commend the leadership of individuals that are stepping up. School board bird to have this forum. It takes leadership, but is this roundtable forum being conducted throughout Orange County, or are we experiencing the lockdowns in a specific geographical location?
No, that's a good question. I'd hate to answer that one just because I don't know.
I got you. Okay.
I can't believe that we're any different than any other, municipality or any other, part of the county itself. But yeah, you can't. It'd be interesting to know how many kids they've suspended or expelled in the 2 high schools. It's not a good number, and then we've had guns and all that. It's just it's really. Not the way we're going to move forward, and it's not the way we're going to get our kids educated and move them on to the next, whatever that.
And one thing for sure is we're not going to take anything for granted. So when these threats do take place, Mr. Mayor, commend you, Chief McKinley, and across the board, because I know Sheriff Mina and other schools are doing the same thing. We're not going to take anything for granted, but we got to do something.
Yeah.
Officers there just to show presence. That's not. It's not the school's fault. But it's not something we need to be doing every week. We got other things that the officers should be doing. But we got to show a presence. We got to get it under control. But yeah, I think we all kind of agree. It all starts at the home. Our parents are responsible. Then taking control of their children. We're all going to be, in a dark spot.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that like I said, it is a concerted effort. And I mentioned the school board, the schools, and also law enforcement. But the other part of this, and we talk about this time and time again, is the judicial system has to do its part. When the kids come, you got to make those tough decisions, but you can't continue to send these kids back into a place where they're disrupting things, and then unfortunately it leads to other things such as assault and sometimes shootings. Greg, go ahead.
We had 4 kids that were stealing cars out in Arrow State, and so I get a couple of emails from ladies.
Okay, so what it was, I had to go to the Logitech on the audio for the board that we got hooked in because when they switched out the camera, it automatically connected to the camera that they put
We
in.
arrested them yesterday, and they're back
So I just had to
today,
switch the audio.
but they're all
Switch
juvenile.
the audio.
And
Okay.
I said, I'd like to say that, I said, so if you want to call somebody, call your district attorney and say, hey, what are you doing? Or call your judge, say, what are you doing to keep my neighborhood safe? I said, we can only arrest them. We can't put them in jail. And so they kind of got the message. I said, here's the individuals you need to call.
Right.
And they said they would call. So whether that happens or not, but yeah, it's. I mean, when you're stealing a car just for fun, I mean that's just. how do you,
Mr. Mayor,
it's
Mr. Mayor, Jennifer, go ahead.
But I'm gonna say this though, it's not just stealing the car, because when you're behind the wheel of the car, that is a dangerous instrumentality.
Right.
And I mean, unfortunately, in my role as an attorney, you'll be surprised at the number of accidents where I've seen people either injured for life or killed because these kids are out here joyriding. It's not just them just going out and having a good time. I mean, serious injuries and death can occur from this.
So, General, this goes back to something that you said earlier, man, and I'm going to concur with you and back you up 100%. We're talking about a stolen car.
Yeah.
It's almost like that story about those kids going down river, and you got this one guy who's struggling to save as many as he can. But what he eventually does, he gets out of the river, man, and he goes upstream to see who's putting these kids in the water to begin with. And so when we talk about this issue about school violence, I think, man, the consequences have to be known now.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't keep skirting along.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, my mom, I grew up in the south side of Chicago. And we've for years already had metal detectors and things in our school. Even for me, and what you call middle school. Middle school for me was 6th grade to 8th grade. We had metal detectors. We had security on our campus, and then we had police presence in our area. Now, I'm not saying that because of where I grew up at, it was already bad, but we knew what the gang intake and the gang violence was. But here's the thing that kept our school intact. We had parents that played a major factor. My mom, I'm gonna be honest, I was one of those kids that I got in trouble because of being stupid, young and dumb, doing what I did. My mom came to that school one time in the 7th grade, and she whooped me in front of everybody in the school at an assembly. I didn't, but in the midst of her whooping me in front of everybody else, she said, "Anybody else in this room, get out of pocket. I will whoop all of you," because I know she knew most of everybody in the neighborhood. And she went and told the parents. So, I had mad respect. So I'm the same way now because of my kids at the schools that they go to. And I tell, hey, I don't mind getting on anybody else's child, but I will tell the parent and let the parent know, hey, this is what we need to do because we're a family and we got to take care of our village.
Thank you, Brandon. And this is not by any means an excuse. But, we've had conversation, and Greg, you've been party to it. I mean, good partner with us, and Mayor Nelson, you're familiar with who I'm about to bring up. We bring this guy up all the time because he's everywhere and he's effective in what he does. But Dr. Nelson, with the Center of Law and Social Justice, he's trained law enforcement and he trains communities. And one of the things we take for granted, when you look at parents getting younger and younger, that break with that generation, Brother Shaw, that basically your mom was old school. She's like, hey, look, I ain't gonna wait to get you home. I know what I'm gonna do, and I'm not encouraging that. But what I'm saying is,
Unless it's necessary.
Unless it's necessary. But General, I'm saying that I don't want to take for granted that these parents are neglecting what's taking place in the schools. What I am saying is, man, do we need to at least offer up? We're having a roundtable, but do we need to at least offer up a forum for those parents who don't know how to handle this stuff to come in and listen and understand? And you ain't got to say a doggone word. A parental. I mean, great. We take a lot of this stuff for granted, but when I say parents are getting younger and younger, when grandnana is 36, that's young.
But the other thing too is not that the parents are getting younger and younger. Sometimes it's that the grandparents, even sometimes the great grandparents, are taking care of the kids, and they don't have the energy.
You're right.
To deal with what's taking place, and and I think a lot of times even parents feel like their hands are tied behind their backs too, because I've heard of instances where a parent tries to discipline a child, and the child will call the police on them because they're being disciplined. So it's a lot. It's a lot entwined in this, but I think the major thing, as Mayor Nelson said, as Bishop Carl Stubbs, he's joined in on this on Facebook, and saying we need to return to a place of family values where children respect and listen to the adults in their lives.
Well, I think I need to bring my mom down because my mom was a little different. My mom would say, "Hey, call the police if you want. They come in this house, they'll get a whooping too, because this is my house." So, but so maybe we just need my mom to kind of teach a parenting class, right?
Inputs, outputs, but what we ultimately want to see is the outcomes. And again, February the 20th at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School.
Did we give a time?
At 5:30. We want to see just as many parents and community residents. You don't have to have kids that attend that school. You live in that community. You should be engaged in this process. We want to see how many people step up to the plate and at least show that support by attending to say, I want to make sure the kids in this community are safe, the teachers are safe, and that it's a great learning environment.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. Couldn't put it better. Absolutely.
Well, man, Nelson, we appreciate your support.
You betcha. Thanks, guys, what you do.
Man, Nelson, before you get off, I'd be remiss if Brother Shaw, this is aimed at you too. On February the 26th, at St. James AME, it's starting at 11 o'clock. St. James AME is gonna have this, man, I mean, fantastic would not do this person justice. Excellent would not do this person justice. I could go through the dictionary and name a whole lot of other words, but the keynote speaker on February the 26th at Pastor Richard King, who is the senior pastor, this person is going to be the keynote speaker for Men's Day. And I will tell you what, we're looking to pack this place. And when we say brothers, we mean brothers of all and each and every color to come and fellowship and listen to this keynote speaker who happens to go by this nickname, the General. But I'm proud to say that this person, keynote speaker, hey, this is the kind of person that I've heard him speak before, and you're not going to allow this person to finish going through their speech because you're going to come to your feet a number of times. But Brother Greg Jackson, man, I'm honored to see you on February 26th at St. James at AME, and this is an open invitation to everybody.
Now, listen, I appreciate that, Brother Levins. For folks that don't know, I grew up in the AME church, and I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I know a little bit of the word.
All right,
and I think that a message that's been put in my heart that I'm gonna be able to share with all men, and I look forward to it. It's an honor and a privilege to be speaking at Reverend King's church. I mean, I see him as one of the giants in the community, and so the fact that he even called and asked me to do this is, I was humbled, and it's an honor and a privilege, and I actually had to go and pray on it a little bit and make sure that I was the right person, and I got the answer that I believe was the right answer. So I'm hoping I do him proud, but again, I'm hoping that we can get folks to come out and to support Reverend King on this Men's Day, because what this does is it's going to help to build men in the community to address some of these things we're hearing right now.
Dispersion in multiple communities, so you don't have to live in the community of uses. We want to see men walk in there, and we want to, Greg, I know you're going to bring it, brother. I know you're going to bring it. So, Mayor Nelson, I could not let you go without making sure, and you're going to get a personal invitation as well, but hey, man, I'm just so excited to listen to my brother get up there, man, and be the keynote speaker, man.
I appreciate it.
Put it on, baby.
All right. Mayor Nelson, thank you once again, man, and keep up the great work you're doing. Thanks. Hey, man, Greg, that was a real good, interesting conversation. But again, I say, we put a lot of inputs, we put a lot of outputs, but what we're ultimately looking for is the outcomes of what we can do to help that community.
No, absolutely. So, Brother Love, I mean, there's some news topics and things that's been hitting the news waves that I think that we want to touch on. And, the elephant in the room, or the elephant in the sky, so to speak, is a Chinese spy balloon that was just shot down this past weekend. Man, what is it? What does we know about this thing?
Greg, I I'm just like anybody else. I was a spectator, but I mentioned something to our executive producer, and I was saying, is the criticism going to be that we didn't shoot it down early enough, or we waited too long? And Dr. Black brought something up that I mentioned to you, and I mean, it's just hard to say when that balloon could have been filled with what Syrian poison or
Syrian.
Yeah. So we don't know. What's your thought on that, Greg?
Well, one of the things that's interesting to me is that this has been such a public incident. That's one of the first things. And I mean, I don't know if folks know this about me, but I spent some years naval intel, you know, and I know Doc did some time on sniper or pathfinder, and I apologize, like I forget which unit you were with. But I mean, there's a certain thing to be said about keeping certain things out of the public's public consumption. And the fact that we knew that, number one, there was a balloon that was flying across the United States that was potentially, and we have basically determined that it was a spy balloon that was sent from China. And then the fact that it was shot down just this past weekend. These are all things where it makes you wonder, why is this such a public thing? Now, the question of whether or not it should have been shot down sooner or not, you know, my opinion is this. They knew about this balloon on January 28th or somewhere thereabouts when it was coming across Alaska over a less populated area. And so if this was something that was deemed a serious threat, I don't think they should have allowed a spy balloon to go from Alaska to South Carolina before dealing with that issue. And so I believe that, it is something that should have been handled swiftly, but I also think that it's something that should have been handled outside of public consumption.
And then the shoot down of it was
All over the news.
Yeah.
I mean, we have what was it? F-22, F-16. I mean, fighter jets that were up there that were firing missiles at this thing to get it out of the sky. And listen, I want people to understand that this was not like a weather balloon that you would look at up in the sky, things like that. This thing had explosives to self-destruct. That's one of the things that's come out about it. This thing was over 200 feet high. That's 20 stories. That's almost the height of the Orange County courthouse.
We're talking about the size of the balloon. The size of 3 buses?
Yeah, listen, and it was large enough to carry a full payload. But I've also heard that this particular type of spy balloon was able to gather more detailed information than what they were able to get from the satellites, which are, hundreds of, I think like 100 miles up in the air, something like that. So this balloon was much more than just what we initially were told. This is not just the weather balloon that had gone off.
So Greg, on that note, because again, this allegedly was from China, correct?
Well, not allegedly, it was from China.
So from China,
Yeah.
But then, just recently, the federal government, Congress, outlawed, what is it? The social media app on government.
So TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. But so what? Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to talk about when we have Mary Nelson on the line is, how is social media influencing some of what we're seeing in these schools? How is it emboldening some of these kids or encouraging them to do some of the things they're doing? Because TikTok, you have some of the dumbest things in the world that people are being encouraged to do on TikTok. But TikTok is also run or owned by Chinese government or Chinese media. And they're saying that TikTok is actually a tool that the Chinese government is using to spy on individuals who use that platform, particularly the U.S. Because us as Americans, we love seeing ourselves on TV and love seeing ourselves on these social media things, and it's alleged that they're using this platform to spy on and gather information against America.
So Greg, the federal government has outlawed TikTok from being on government devices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the federal level.
Right.
So do
some states are considered the same.
And that was my next question.
Yeah.
So when you say states, also, I mean, does it trickle down to local governments?
So from the federal side, that federal law does not, or that federal regulation would not trickle down to state government, the states have their own sovereignty to make that determination.
And local government.
And local governments, but I believe, but the state can determine what local governments can do. All right, so let's say, for instance, if the governor of the state of Florida says that they are banning TikTok on government devices, i.e., how many students have laptops or have tablets and things like that that are school issues?
Yeah, you're right.
That they're able to download, TikTok and all this stuff on. And those devices, the state can determine that you cannot put those things on state devices.
And see, some people don't realize that pen is mightier than the sword,
Oh, yeah.
because when you look at the amount of federal dollars that trickle down, you can impose
Hello,
a
can you
law
hear me?
such as that.
Yeah, but
Okay,
listen,
my
I mean,
signal's
this is,
going in and out.
this is something that I think folks need to really keep an eye on and to take seriously, because this has been an issue. It's been an issue for about a year now with regards to TikTok and what should be done with TikTok. And there was a story that came out, I think about a month ago, where I think it's Seattle. I want to say Seattle, where Seattle is now considering suing social media platforms for allowing there to be negative influences to young people, and that they're allowing these things on their platform. So this may become a bigger issue as time, and I hope that it does, man, because the one common denominator of things that I see that's leading to some of the issues that we're seeing in the schools and in communities is social media.
But you know what, Greg? That Seattle topic that you just brought up, I think that's something that we need to monitor. And again, you got two brothers sitting at this table that wrote the white paper for the House and the Senate regarding CRAs. How many years ago?
It was 5 years.
5 years ago. I think if we can get our arms around, and there's some experts out there that I'm sure will lend their expertise. We need to have this discussion and conversation, and then subsequently, we need to go and start having conversation with senators who would be willing to sponsor legislation, and then get companion bills in the House. We need to open up the dialogue. Greg, I know we're going to be running short on time real quick, but I got to shift gears on you, man, and ask you about this. This woman who asked if she was out of line on the Reddit, most people are not familiar with that, but asked if she was out of line for inviting herself to her husband's doctor appointment when he asked her not to go because he wanted privacy. What's your thoughts on
Listen, man, this is one of those things that can get you in trouble. And this is the question that I think we wanted to ask Let's Talk Nation on. How much privacy? Once you get married, people think that when you get married, that everything about you and everything and who you are, you share that. And this gentleman did not want his wife to come to his doctor's appointment. He wanted to keep that particular aspect private. Now, some may say, well, why is he keeping that private? What is he trying to hide? But the question is, do you have the ability to say, hey, listen, I want to go to my own doctor's appointment I have you? So my personal opinion is, gauge the person you sleeping in bed with.
Because Greg, you're the attorney here. You have the legal right to have privacy, but at the end of the day, when you got to go home, how does that work for you?
Listen, I don't think it's going to work out very well. So, that's not going to
Okay. All right. But that's on that. Greg, Biden's State of the Union, when is that set to take place?
I want to say tomorrow, if I remember correctly. And so, people are thinking that this is going to be Biden's foray or his initial foray into his re-election campaign. And the question is, has he done enough to earn people's votes again for 2024? Now, in my estimation, there's a lot of folks that are upset, but the red wave that was predicted during this midterm election didn't happen, and so that has emboldened Biden so much, so with the folks behind him so much to believe that he may be able to pull it off again.
Okay.
Yeah, the State of the Union's address is for tomorrow at 9 p.m.
But the record will be taken.
And another interesting topic now. Y'all don't start off so fast. Trump numbers are not looking good at all.
Listen, Koch basically said that he was looking to support another Republican in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who that Republican is or is going to be, we don't know at this time. And I will say this, I don't know how y'all feel about this. I still like Mike Pence. I think that he is even keeled. I think that he is a good leader. I think that for the Republican Party, that Mike Pence would be able to draw votes from both sides of the aisle.
The sister out of she was the governor of South Carolina. I think she's going to declare here.
Yeah, Haley.
Barbara.
not Haley Barbour. Is it Haley Barbour?
I thought it was Haley Barbour. But she was the governor of South Carolina.
And
Right?
she also served as an ambassador. Also.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Was she the Secretary of State as well?
No, she was Secretary of State. But it's Haley Barbour.
Yeah, yeah. So, and of course, we can't mention Haley Barbour and Pence without mentioning the lead candidate right now. If you're just looking at polling numbers, is Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting, and somebody down in Mar-a-Lago is having a fit.
Listen, so we'll see. Man. We have about a year to really truly see who's serious about jumping in this race, and we'll see.
Hey, Greg, Valentine's Day plan.
I'm coming in. I'm gonna put my hat in the race. Yeah, if I don't become president, I'm gonna be security of arms for the United States or mayor of the United States.
Valentine's Day plans. Greg, we have a show before Valentine's Day, right?
No, we will. Well, yeah, we will. We have one. But here's something that, folks, if you're looking for something to do on February the 11th, there's going to be a Sweetheart Gala. It is being hosted by a seniors group, the same group.
Okay.
So some remember they did the senior prom in their pocket.
Okay.
And so they're putting together the Sweetheart Gala on February 11th. That's going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Food for Thought, just right down the road here in the not that store. What's this? West Oaks Mall.
The West Oaks Mall.
If you want the information, there are limited tickets that are available for that. Just call 407-884-0924. Again, that's 407-884-0924. If you want to go and be a part of the Sweetheart Gala, if you've been to the senior prom, you know that it is a night that you do not want to miss.
And Brother Jackson often hosts that, man. So it's something that are you hosting it this year?
No, I'm not hosting this. I'm actually enjoying myself this year.
Hey, Brother Jackson, I told you we're gonna run out of time, but hey, man, I enjoyed the night, man. Just some good information. Hey, General.
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna tell you to go home.
You gotta get out of here.
Hey, until next Monday. Hey, tune in because Let's Talk Nation is definitely gonna be giving up its 2 Valentine's Day dinners to Monica May and her husband George, CD Bistro restaurant off of Hawaii Boulevard.
Hey, can I win it?
No, you can't win it. Hey, we'll see you next week on Let's Talk Nation.